It was a cold, foggy evening in the small town of Willowbrook. The streets were quiet, and the only sound was the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. Detective Arthur Lane sat in his cozy office, sipping on a cup of steaming tea. His office was small but tidy, with a wooden desk, a bookshelf filled with old case files, and a single lamp that cast a warm glow across the room. Arthur was known as the best detective in Willowbrook, and he had solved many mysteries over the years. But little did he know, a new case was about to land on his desk, one that would test his skills like never before. Just as Arthur was about to call it a night, there was a knock on the door. A young woman, dressed in a long coat and holding a handbag, stepped inside. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around the room. "Detective Lane, I need your help," she said, her voice trembling. "My name is Claire Bennett. Something terrible has happened." Arthur gestured for her to sit down. "Please, take a seat and tell me everything." Clara took a deep breath and began her story. "My uncle, Mr. Edward Bennett, passed away last week. He was a wealthy man and owned a large estate outside of town. In his will, he left everything to me, including his prized possession, a rare green fountain pen. It's not just any pen. It's made of emerald and gold, and it's worth a fortune. But last night, it was stolen from his study." Arthur leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Do you have any idea who might have taken it?" Clara hesitated. "There were only a few people in the house last night. My uncle's lawyer, Mr. Harris, the housekeeper, Mrs. Grayson, and my cousin, Victor. They were all in the house when the pen went missing." Arthur nodded. "I'll need to visit the estate and speak to everyone. Can you take me there?" Clara agreed, and soon they were on their way to the Bennett estate. The house was grand, with tall windows and a large garden. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Mr. Harris, the lawyer, was pacing in the study. Mrs. Grayson was dusting the furniture, and Victor was sitting by the fireplace, looking bored. Arthur began his investigation by examining the study. The glass case where the pen had been kept was smashed, and shards of glass were scattered on the floor. He noticed muddy footprints near the window, as if someone had climbed in from outside. "Did anyone hear anything unusual last night?" Arthur asked. Mrs. Grayson shook her head. "No, detective. I was in the kitchen all evening, and I didn't hear a thing." Mr. Harris cleared his throat. "I was in the library, going through some documents. I didn't see or hear anything suspicious." Victor, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "I was in my room all night. I have no idea who took the pen." Arthur studied each of them carefully. Something didn't add up. He decided to search the house for clues. In Victor's room, he found a pair of muddy boots under the bed. In Mr. Harris's briefcase, he discovered a small key that didn't seem to belong to anything in the house. And in Mrs. Grayson's cleaning supplies, he noticed a tiny piece of emerald green fabric. Arthur gathered everyone in the study. "I believe I know who stole the pen," he said, his voice calm but firm. All eyes turned to him. "Who was it?" Claire asked, anxiously. Arthur pointed to Victor. "It was you, Victor. The muddy boots in your room matched the footprints near the window. You climbed in through the window, smashed the glass case, and took the pen." Victor's face turned pale. "That's not true. I didn't take it." Arthur continued. "But you didn't act alone. Mr. Harris, you provided the key to the study, didn't you? And Mrs. Grayson, you helped cover up the crime by hiding the pen in your cleaning supplies." Mrs. Grayson gasped, and Mr. Harris looked down in shame. "How did you know?" Claire asked, stunned. Arthur smiled. The clues were all there. The muddy boots, the key, and the piece of fabric from the pen's case. It was a classic case of greed and betrayal. Victor finally broke down. "I'm sorry, Clara. I needed the money. I didn't mean to hurt you." Clara sighed, her heart heavy. "I just want the pen back." Arthur handed her the green fountain pen, which he had found hidden in Mrs. Grayson's supply closet. "Here it is, safe and sound." As the culprits were taken away by the local police, Clara thanked Arthur for his help. "You're a brilliant detective, Mr. Lane. I don't know what I would have done without you." Arthur tipped his hat. "Just doing my job, Miss Bennet. Remember, the truth always comes to light, no matter how well it's hidden." And with that, Arthur Lane returned to his office, ready for the next mystery that would come his way.